Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tablas Creek semi-weekly Instagram live broadcast. I am, as always, Jason Haas, and I'm here with you on just a stunningly beautiful, kind of feels like late summer day. It's going to top out around 80 today. This week has been just beautiful here in Paso Robles. My guest is going to be Michele Manelli, who is the proprietor at Salcheto winery in Italy and is one of, really, not just Italy's, but one of the world's leading innovators in sustainability in the world of wine. So I can't wait for you to meet Michele. He's going to be joining me from vacation in the mountains. So I'm hoping that this all works. But as I always do, while I'm waiting for people to join, I wanted to show you a little bit on what we are seeing here at the vineyard. The big news for us is that finally, very delayed, much like nearly a month later than we saw last year, we're seeing veraison. This is when the grapes start to turn color and start to accumulate sugar. It generally is the kind of 6 weeks from harvest marker. This is Syrah, and there isn't much beyond Syrah. Syrah is maybe, I don't know, a quarter of the way into veraison here. And give you a sense of where other things are, I'll show you Grenache, which I could not find a single berry with veraison in our Grenache. I couldn't find anything in Mourvedre either. Everything looks healthy and vibrant and good, but no veraison. Except, and this was a real surprise, I found some veraison in Counoise. Counoise is usually super late to go through veraison and to be picked. I don't know what this means, but anyway, that was the other grape where I found a little bit of color. In addition to all of that which is going on in the vineyard, we are bottling this week. You may hear, I don't know if you can hear in the background, the kind of clanking of bottles on the bottling line. We're bottling our Esprit de Tablas and our Panoply from 2021. We are also bottling our Full Circle Pinot Noir from 2022. That means not just putting it into bottles, it also means putting into kegs for what we're going to be pouring in our tasting room. One more picture of the boxes, the cases coming off the bottling line. And then finally, something else exciting. If you've been waiting for our next release of our boxes, we're going to be putting the Patelin Blanc, 2022 Patelin Blanc into box next week. So look for an announcement and a release of that, hopefully the week after. So that's what's going on here. We are in a delayed harvest. We're still expecting things to start maybe mid-September, and we probably won't finish until November. But things look good. The vineyard looks really healthy. Everything is very green. It looks like our crops are going to be average to slightly above. Maybe not the bumper crops that we were hoping for when we saw all that rain this past winter, but it looks like at least decent quantity, and so far our quality looks great. Okay, so with that as an intro, let me see if I can find Michele on here and invite him to join Salcheto. Through, so hopefully Michele will see that little pop up, and we will see him shortly. Marvelous.
Hi, Jason.
It's like magic when it works.
Yeah, right. You're right.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me on your vacation. Is this like the last little bit of time off before the harvest starts and you're buried in grapes?
Well, in a way, although we are also a bit delayed this year, We're actually going back to normal timings for harvest. We are planning to start picking at the end of September and probably go through mid-October or so. And this is kind of the past, and the flowering was late. The winter was quite cool in the late part of it, and the spring too. So the flowering came a bit late. We are not as lucky as you are with the medical disease pressure. We got as all you probably read that central and southern Italy, particularly, but all around the Mediterranean, it has been quite challenging in terms of mildew. It's been tough.
Yeah, I talked to. We had some visitors from Bordeaux here earlier this week, and they were saying that the mildew is the worst that they've seen there in decades.
Never seen something like this. It was raining every day for like a month, with showers that were big enough to, at some point, limiting the access to the fields, and so making it really impossible to really challenge. And once it's in, as we don't even remember anymore, because our capacity to defend has become so high, so precise, with all our technology and the predictions and the forecast and the precision machineries and so on. We are like, super pros. And this year it was like frustrating. You couldn't do anything. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope that you have a good last month before harvest, and at least no more problems.
Listen, at some point, because the residual quantity is not even very good, because the milieu is making it complicated. So I'm hoping for some big hailstorm, so I can finally go and see the Oktoberfest once in my life, and in Munich and things like this.
Just finish the job and all at once. Okay, so I like to start by asking people to share their journey into the world of wine, because if I understand right, you didn't grow up in a winemaking family.
I did not, actually. My father and my brothers too. At the moment, they were involved in ceramic tiles, and I was, I had an entrepreneurial background in a sense that my family inspired kind of business development activities. But I studied political economics in Milan, and then instead of thinking to go into finance and then buy a winery and retire, I decided to retire right away. So that was my move, and it happened.
Did you know that was what you wanted to do, or was there a moment where you realized, okay, this is what I want to do and not that?
Oh, there was a summer trip when I was actually just finishing studying and starting working in some business consulting, like international tax consulting things, stuff like this. I found Tuscany, in the sense that I got there with my motorcycle. I had already kind of, probably romantic visions already at the time, and I was shocked by the beauty of this place. I always say it's suspended in time and space. You don't understand, can't grab it and understand where it is, where it comes from, where it's going. It's a bit of a rarity, and wine was a rising thing. At the time, it was not yet mature. There was a great history. There was already a lot of things going on, but it felt there was a new boom happening or soon to happen. So I just jumped on it and followed the flow. At first, I wanted to make grapes only. I wasn't thinking to make wine, because I wasn't that familiar with wine, actually. But
Right.
It took a few days to decide to do wine instead of only grapes.
So I think most Americans just assume that if you grow up in Italy, you grow up with wine surrounding you and on your table. Was wine? Did your parents drink wine regularly? Was it something that you were introduced to at a relatively early age, or did you come to it later?
I should show you the Sunday wishes to the family that my grandmother, still alive, 97, sends to everybody, with the table set up and a glass of red wine. It's always on a family table, lunch and dinner. It cannot miss. So you're right. It's a great family tradition, but it doesn't mean that we were, particularly a few decades ago, familiar with quality wines or winemaking. We were familiar with wine as a food, as part of the table, as a bread, and so it was not that important how deep the feelings and the phenolics and the tannins and the balance and the acidity was actually set up. Yeah.
So So you bought the Salcheto, or I guess the Salco vineyard in 1997. Is that right?
Yeah, I started studying the business, let's say the approach in '94. Took a bit of time. And looking around and making my plans. And in '97 actually was the first vintage I managed at Salcheto. And yeah, so last year was my vintage number 25, and that was it's been very fast and nothing but boring. As you know, every year new and different and unique, and so it's and every year discovering something and feeling really at the beginning.
Yeah, everybody thinks that somebody who's been doing it for 25 years, it's has had thousands of chances to make all of these choices and these mistakes. They don't realize that we only get one chance each year.
Luckily, soon we're going to have in AI, so we will able to be stupid but successful.
Yeah, maybe. So if you came into this having studied political economics, how did you go about learning about grape growing and winemaking?
Well, it's been definitely learning by doing, and and if you come back to the story, the boom part of the story. So when I joined, really the wine scene was fermenting a lot in Tuscany and around Italy in general. We were, in a growing slope in terms of recognition of quality and the marketing recognition of different districts and identities of several. There was a great interest. Tourism made part into that. So, and of course the rise of the food, the Italian food identity in the world, and so I think that I could make a lot of mistakes without paying the bill at the very first because of this great, flood. But let me say that one thing which I found in other young winemakers over time, and is that I think. That I think is a lot of explains a lot. At least my experience is that there is an instinct for recognizing the quality of wine by the grapes and by the winemaking. I think it's a very romantic touch that you have it day one. And then you build up all that is around, and you try to, as I say, limit the mistake. But this instinct, this romantic part, it's actually part. I know these funny professors, funny in the sense that they have a lot of fun together, that study complexity. And when they got once into wine, they get together internationally, and they say, okay, we are. We have to study today, I don't know, forestry, the chemistry of a material or whatever. At some point they studied wine, and they say it's describable at 95%. There's a 5% which is, untangible, and we can't do anything about it. And I think that in this 5%, I don't know what is your background, but at least guys like me can make its way, because it's the infinite, it's the romantic part, and it can be more important than anything else, because it's intangible.
Lovely. So can you talk about what was the state of the property when you bought it in 1997? Was it already producing wonderful grapes? Was it being farmed organically? What did you see, and what changes did you make?
Actually, it was a multi-crop farm, and I did specialize it a bit, very quickly, in the winemaking. And there was not an organized organic approach, but we were inspired, and also we worked since day one in setting up the vineyards. There was already a vineyard. The Salco vineyard was already existing, and it was certainly a plot that was fitting so well in this corner of the world. It was like, as we can imagine, in those farms, they were putting the vineyard where after a few centuries it was doing well in that place with this kind of setup. I mean, that's at least an idea. So it was a vineyard, a top plot, very well suited in this corner of the world. And but to develop the winery, we were supported by Daniel Schuster, so a Podolonskian biodynamic fellow from New Zealand, who's done great Pinot Noir back there, and so I think that was another great message that came along very quickly. The idea of listening to the physiology of the plant and understanding, this the idea that it is something that needs to find its balance around, and also with us and with the idea of quality that we have and the organization of its canopy and then the crop and so on. So this was certainly a great message. Then, of course, very being low interventionist and trying to have a vineyard that would look healthy by its life and its diversity. And, at first when I came in the 90s, I found the viticulture around that was looked more like gardening than farming. Everything was so precise. And at first you were a bit, impressed. But soon you understand that your job wasn't to make a nice garden, nice English or Italian style garden, but to make a great wine. And you would understand that it could benefit much more of a balance in which the beauty is not the same one as a garden, but it can be made of some grass around, and some life, and some animals, and some let's say balanced disorder, if I may. I don't know how to say it, but that was certainly a point. And so on. And then the organic part came along quickly because it looked incoherent to not follow the organic practices. Because you say, how can I? But it was also a challenge. I think that's what remains a lot about, in my opinion, today, after my lot of evolution that we have also shared sometime by talking together toward what organic means or biodynamic, is that I think that it's radicalism, if I may. The idea of I want to try to make everything without the synthesis chemistry, a great reaction to say we have to find a different way. I think that's the call that pushed a lot of us to follow it. It's a stubbornness to say there must be another way. And I think that the quality winemakers found their way in finding the way to make great quality, despite organic, because organic was not built to make great quality. and they found a way because there was so much care and attention in our job in any way. And so this is, I think, the mix that made it true, and also the mix that made organic suitable to quality winemaking. My idea.
And at what point did you decide that you had the opportunity to make Salcheto kind of an example in sustainability for other wineries?
Well, let's first say that at some point I had a nice, I think, ideas after a few years of winemaking, very small, hands-on, on Sangiovese, on our area. I made up ideas on how to build to build up the business in a more efficient way, organized, to be prepared for the internationalization, and also for this new challenge, the challenge of making business more responsible to our society in a wider way, in a very wide way. And I have to say, I found great partners at some point. It was the mid 2000, and I needed support, and so financial and also strategical, and we put together a group of investment that was the turning point, and we were able to build up an energy independent facility, and to also create a model. And after this, I have to say, I was after this, since the early times, sharing those information was again a matter of coherence. because you can't be talking about sustainability and trying to spread around the message to make the businesses, to elevate businesses to become a leverage for society, and then you keep all these good ideas or practices or examples for yourself. I have to say that in wine, this fits even better, because we are on average quite small. We're so many that nobody really feels to be a competitor of each other. That's probably why we're such a good example in so many ways. We are, wine is an incredible metaphor of business, life, agriculture, services, industry. It's interesting.
I often tell people when they ask, like, who are your competitors, that wine is not a zero-sum product. It's not as though someone who buys a neighbor's Syrah is less likely to buy our Syrah. It makes them more likely. So we can do things that help our neighbors do better, and help the community at large do better, and it helps ourselves. It's not like buying a car, where if you buy a Volkswagen, you're not also buying a Honda. It's not the same thing. It's the wine world is a world of diversity.
Yeah, that's very true. And probably even Honda and Volkswagen, they would benefit of creating a better industry with more attract. I think they could just they just probably they miss wine in their discussions in their. No, I'm joking, but I understand that your point is certainly true. And by the way, let's get to territories. It's even more true. If we are when we belong, and that's very European, but it is the model of North America too in winemaking. And it's when you are when someone does anything great in a territory, it's doing it a great thing for everybody, and so we should support each other. And it's even stronger. We should even support those who do well or even better than us, because we can benefit of it.
I agree 100%. So I feel like you were really early in thinking about some of the things that are now everyone is talking about. I'm thinking, like, particularly in doing something like a carbon footprint analysis of your business. You did that. I mean, a long time ago. When did you actually go about that, and how did you come up with that as something that would be important to do?
Well, it was 2008, 2009.
So early.
It was a bit early. I actually consider that at the time there wasn't even an international standard for carbon footprinting. And that's why actually we had to run this within a standard that allowed experimentations on it, to be able to be part of a standard. Because at the end, the whole thing was, we were building the energy independent facility that I mentioned. So we were doing this investment oriented to lower our environmental impact. This was the idea. Energy was the big thing at the time. It was a topic that everybody was imagining as an important challenge. And at some point we said, but how can we really rate the winery and its process and its products? And we say, okay, we looked around, and in fact, very quickly, we found a lot of people among academics that were very interested to put up a group that we could afford. Let's put it also, let's say honestly, so an R&D activity that we could afford, because everybody was volunteering. And so there were a couple of universities, the National Council of Research jumped up, because we were really trying to make an even more important thing than doing the energy independent cellar, to try to rate the energy independent cellar. And so we came out with the carbon footprint as the first very important parameter, because climate change was, of course, related to energy consumption with the thermodynamic relationship. The carbon emission related to the action of doing anything is putting together the big challenge, cause and effect dynamics. So we ran it, and the funny thing is that we found out that the super cellar that we were building up, super advanced, was in fact not the most important challenge for the wine industry. That was, in theory, very disappointing, but it was actually, I think, the best proof of why we should measure what we say toward, of course, standardized and how can I say, standardized method, transparent, verified and verifiable, but more than this, that relates to a major challenge, because this is the point. We need to really determine what are our priorities in terms of challenges and it is in our process and so on. So the funny thing is that so this is the best proof, is that by measuring, we understood, wow, the thing that everybody was saying, you're doing a great thing with your super independent setup, but we say, you know what, it's the third in the lineup. Packaging was first, countryside with tractor and medical product for medication was second, with the gas oil or the
Right.
fuel of the tractors. And then the third was the cellar, with about, at the time, was a 15% impact, which was great to offset, to cancel in a way. But that was funny.
Yeah, I think that's everyone who does a carbon footprint analysis in the world of wine. The thing that they're floored by is that it's all about packaging. I mean, packaging is far and away the most important source of all of our emissions. Which I think once you've done the analysis, you realize why. But I'm guessing that most people who are just casual consumers of wine are thinking that probably the environmental initiatives that a winery is doing in its vineyard and in its cellar are the most important. But
Yeah.
they're important, but they're not the most important.
Yeah, and by the way, everything is important, as you say, but we have to be aware of the real numbers and of as we say, of the priorities and the proportion. And by the way, since after a few years, we also worked in a more precise measurement in the field with an eddy covariance station and method to calculate the absorption of the vineyard in terms of carbon emissions, because it's a sink, it's a plant just like a forest, and it absorbs, it fixes carbon and so on. And the numbers were quite impressive. We have never shouted them out very much because, the approach of carbon footprinting gig or people that like in general to use it to really maybe make things improve. They don't want to underline too much positive things because they're afraid that then people wouldn't would how can I say, reduce their efforts and investments and so on. So, but the sink capacity of vineyard is quite important. And by the way, and we share, and that we share this innovation and improvement with the bagging box. We found out, and we actually certified it a few years ago under the now existing ISO standard 14037, is that let's make it like this. If this is the emission of this is the absorption, sorry, of the vineyard in terms of carbon, with a glass bottle, even the best, lightest one you can, this is the emission, so you have a net positive. Instead, when you pack it in bagging box, for example, the emissions related are lower, so there is a net negative, which is okay. I shouldn't say drink as much as you can to help the environment. That's something that we don't want to say for a lot of reasons, but it shows how things can be better, and we can make them better.
So I heard an interview with you, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, where you said one of the biggest challenges that you thought challenges for sustainability in the world of wine was just the confusion around all of the different standards that there were. Is this what led you to sort of build the Equalitas program?
Yeah, consider that in 2013, so after a few years of already sharing and trying to put the wine community to cooperate in, for example, carbon footprinting, harmonized rules. With a few of those thinkers and professors and so on that I was working with, we decided to try to put everybody around the table, to bring everybody around the table, because we needed to make the difference by creating an harmonized and standardized rules that would, with as little doubt as possible, no doubts possible, put together everything that we needed in terms of indicators, parameters, and at the same time to govern this action so as to be sure that it would involve massively and rapidly all the institutions and of course the community itself. So it was a bottom-up process to be able to define sustainability for wine, because at the end of the time there was this need, make the definition so as to be able to then create the rules and then orient the investments and the consumers. Because if we don't have someone producing under these standard, I don't want to be too standard numbers and rules, but it has a role in this game when we talk about a global complex society as we are, and at the same time the consumer be able to recognize this clearly and to be able to trust and support, and so make the and in this combination we can make the difference, and business become the leverage, and we divert. I'm going to say the curve of everything going bad exponentially up, maybe stabilizing and going. No, otherwise there is no. I don't think there is a solution. Because if we wait for politicians to make a law saying, okay, from tomorrow you you calculate the carbon footprint, you reduce it will happen. For example, carbon footprint is not the only thing, but it will happen in a long time when it's too late, as we have seen. So the society needs, I think, that's the vision to much quicker react. So this and at the time we found that only in Italy there were 15 models that were trying to do this job, but partially, never with a comprehensive vision with all the pillar and all the indicators that possible, and with the structure to be able to really become standard. So that's what we did. We put together really everybody, and we came out with a project that is controlled by the Italian Federation of Appellation, so by the leading body representing the wine industry politically, so both private and semi-public interest, because it is designated to also represent the appellation itself. So this was the idea of Equalitas, and it grew very well. It's growing actually very well. We have a fifth of the wine industry now under certified or under certification, because it's a complex and long process. Yep. And we are supporting an international vision on it. Actually, we met, we crossed each other in those project of the Sustainable Wine Roundtable, which actually is now I think accounting for 51 or 52 models that are now being examined to do, or we hope Equalitas supports the SWR in this direction, to try to analyze everything and hopefully be sure to create the comprehensive interpretation of sustainability globally, so that we create minimum standards, because there's going to be there is actually already today a big problem, the need of a standard of standards. We need to set up a minimum level of decent quality for a standard that defines sustainability. Otherwise, everybody will lose, because everything will be completely untrustable or incomplete or not talking of anything. So everybody will be disoriented, and it would just be another failure. And we don't want. It's not like that we don't want it. We can't afford this.
I agree 100%. I see the I see that risk here in America because there are so many different sustainability programs already. Even in California, I think there's 6 or 7 major sustainability programs, each with slightly different rules, none of them with the rigor that I think they need to have. It's one of the reasons why we were so excited about the regenerative organic certification, because it included like an organic baseline. It included a lot of the soil health pieces that come from biodynamics. And then it included animal welfare and human, like farm worker protection standards that I think are so important. And I know that's something that you've talked about, the human element of sustainability. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about that?
Yeah, listen, I think that it's simple. I start. I go back a little bit. I'm sorry, but in 1987, when the Brundtland Commission, the so-called Brundtland Commission, under the umbrella of the United Nations, defined sustainability, the little revolution was to say we have to take care of the resources of the environment of the planet, or whatever. I'm simplifying or just make. To guarantee wellness for human beings today and tomorrow. And I think that this is the revolution. The revolution is that the man was put in the middle of the equation of the vision of how we want to see our planet and society growing. It was in the middle. The wellness of everybody was put in the middle as a condition, and then there was this time horizon, which is extremely important, is that it's something that needs to be renewed and renewable and preserved for forever, and because so this is the point. So there cannot be a quality wine. I think everybody can understand clearly if there's no respect for respect it's even too small as a word. If there is not the wellness and the happiness of everybody that is involved, and directly and indirectly, and whatever, in whatever value chain it's part of it, there is no sense. And I think that, just to make an example, so labor is certainly one of the indicators, because at the end we have to create indicators. The principle is wonderful, but then we have to go down the field and understand what are the indicators, and this is one thing. But then there is something more. It's not only the vision of labor in the sense of be sure that there is no abuse, which is of course something that it's all clear. But then there is another vision of society, the society of wellness, in the sense that are we sure that you are guaranteeing the equal opportunities for everybody to build up dreams, their career, their expectations, to find the right way to balance work and life and private life. I don't know, just to make examples, and then how we deal with the young generations and their growth of younger generation that will be the workers of tomorrow, or anyway the society of tomorrow. I mean, just to make examples. And this is so this is certainly one of the sub pillar of the social pillar that is leading certainly the way when we talk about sustainability. I totally agree with you. But believe me, in 2013, when we wrote down the rules or the vision of Equalitas, it was witchery nearly, and it's luckily becoming as you are also fighting for a very happy reality today, and that's very good. But believe me, and you know, there are even governmental programs in Italy and France. Just I'm politically involved. I'm the vice president of Equalitas. I should be very, very diplomatic when I speak about everything, and I do. And but there are governmental programs who don't even take into consideration this pillar. So how can we deal? How can we call sustainability two things so different? I mean, how can we call sustainability something that doesn't include this vision, that is simply the vision? Because there's one thing that I don't accept anymore today, and I'm becoming a little bit more, how can I say, probably probably sharp in criticizing what is not going in the direction we all that we're talking about today, is that there are no more excuses. It is clear. From the United Nations setting up the 17 goals and saying they all must be seen as a wall, as a system, and they talk about everything that we have and more that we have mentioned today, and to the several program and standards and association and groups that clearly are stating the vision, and even in finance, even in the approach of ESG, in the financial market. So it is so clear what should be the minimum definition and the minimum approach that I cannot accept any more excuses by anyone saying, I don't know, maybe I will see. And I mean, when we talk, especially when we talk about programs that are publicly held. And so I think that very soon we will need to really ask people to stop using this word sustainability or writing this word, just as we can protected, the word and term and concept and vision. I think that we should start protecting sustainability as a concept in the same way.
Lovely. Well, I can't believe that it has already been more than half an hour. I could sit and talk with you about this all afternoon with great pleasure, but I don't think that's fair to you. So before we go, how can people learn more about Salcheto or more about Equalitas?
Well, we do have an Equalitas website, which is also English speaking, and also the standard is also translated in English under request. So go on equalitas.it. That's EQUALITAS.it. That's a great source to start. And then same for Salcheto. Salcheto, well, we are, I think, with the social media and I think nobody can have everybody would be much, I think, easy life in this sense, more than me in getting there. But and thank you for mentioning. We're in Tuscany, Vino Nobile appellation, southeast of the Siena province. We also have some rooms and food if you pass by the corner, and so that's it.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Michele Manelli, for joining me this afternoon. Thank you, all of the viewers from Tablas Creek and from Salcheto. It's been a pleasure. I'm inspired by the work that you do. I'm amazed at how far ahead of everyone else, of the consensus that you have been. So thank you. Keep pushing, keep pioneering. We'll do our best to keep up.
Jason, if you say so, I'm flattered, because I would like to say exactly the same for what you did. So thank you, and thanks for sharing this moment together, and believe me, see you soon.
With pleasure. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. I will be back in 2 weeks. My guest in 2 weeks will be writer Julia Coney. So I hope you will join us then. Meanwhile, wherever you are around the world, I hope the approaching harvest is going well. Thank you for watching, and thank you again, Michele.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.